silent assassin, Savannah Marshall, world champion boxer and newly announced member of the PFL roster.
Welcome to DAZN MMA. I'm Dan Hardy, and I'm sat here with the PFL's biggest signing in recent months, Savannah Marshall. We're very excited to see you make your transition to mixed martial arts. I mean, you've probably had this question 100 times since you signed your PFL contract, but why MMA? Why are you crossing over?
It's just the opportunity. MMA is something I've been interested in probably pre-COVID. I've seen how much other MMA promoters were really pushing females at the time, and female boxing was kind of not going anywhere. Promoters weren't getting behind the fighters. So my ears pricked up round about that time, but I'd never really given it much thought. Did a little bit, very, very little bit of training. And then obviously the opportunity come with the PFL, and it was just too good to walk away from.
You know, it's interesting, you know, reading back about your career and your beginnings in boxing, because, you know, you went to a boxing gym with a couple of friends, they didn't stick at it. You were discouraged from going to the gyms, and you weren't really welcomed in sparring. Like, that must have been quite a difficult thing to work through to stay motivated when you were young. Like, when was the point when that kind of started to shift and you started to get that acceptance?
For me, I think it was more round about 17, 18. And round about that time, that was when female boxing had been accepted into the 2012 Olympic Games. So then the next thing, there was lottery funding, there was Team GB for women, that sort of thing. Because prior to that, there was you box for England, and you used to have to share kits, you used to have to get funding to go to trips, things like that. So it was round about that age that things started to change and female fighters were getting accepted.
Had you decided before that you were going to make a career in sport?
No, never. I'd boxed from the age of 11, went to college. When I finished college, that was the time that 2012 had been accepted. So I got put on Team GB, and it just kind of went from there. I joke now with my friends, they joke with me saying I've never really ever had a real job. I always just box, so when I whinge that I'm tired, they say, you know, you've never done a 12-hour shift in your life.
Yeah, but it's a bit different when someone's trying to punch you in the face. What's your awareness of mixed martial arts and of the skills that you've got to learn to be prepared for your PFL debut?
I remember at the time when I did a little bit of training thinking, God, there's so many elements to this. It's not like boxing where you've got to, you know, watch the hands defend. Here you're watching kicks, head kicks, takedowns, then you've got your groundwork. So there's just so much to learn. There's so many elements to it, but for me it's exciting. I've boxed for 20 plus years, and if you think I've done the same combinations, near enough the same training regime, so for me this is just wow, something new, something different.
And do you think that's going to help kind of motivate you again? Because obviously, you know, you say you've been training for a long time, and it's difficult to stay motivated through one training camp after the next, but adding a whole new skill set or several different skill sets to the table, is that a good way of kind of remotivating you, like get you excited to get back in the gym again?
It is, definitely, and with boxing I've reached the pinnacle. Do you know, I'm undisputed champion, I've won everything there is to win. So it's a bit, right, I'm at the top of the mountain now. So I'm ready to conquer a new mountain.
Yeah, and you were at PFL Europe 1, the first show that we held in Europe in Newcastle. What were your thoughts on that? Like you were sitting cage side. Did you think to yourself, wow, this is chaotic? Did you think their striking's wide open? There's loads of opportunities to punch people, or like what was your first sense of mixed martial arts sitting there live?
What I noticed, what stood out was the people who knew how to punch properly, and I felt like it was like they were head and shoulders above their opponent. So that's what I noticed, the fighters that knew how to punch properly, and yeah, that was the difference. But also the fans, they were just totally different. I think sometimes with boxing you see people just go for a drink and a good time to see a scrap, but the MMA fans just seemed just so invested, and you know, it was just like they just wanted to be there to it was like the doors opened at 5:30 and it was full at 5:30.
Yeah.
Here from Simeon Powell. My God, wow. Waves it up. And the calf kicks from the local boy.
So the standout stars that we've got currently in PFL Europe, obviously, you know, Simeon Powell, Dakota, Lewis McGrillen's another one that stands out. You know, all fighters that have made a career out of striking. Like, are there any of those fighters you look at and think to yourself, I'd like to recruit some of those skills, or maybe I could give them some skills that would make them better?
There was a fight on in New York, and I can't remember if it was the main event or the one before, but one of them was, there was two Americans, one of them was from New York, and the other one was a bit...
Shane Burgos, Clay Collard.
Yeah, Clay.
It was wild.
That was unbelievable, but with him, he was a boxer, and I remember watching that and thinking, God, his head movement and his punch output and his combinations, he'd beat most... I'm not saying well level, but intermediate level boxers right now. And it was something I've very rarely seen in MMA.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I trained with Freddie Roach for a while, and there were certain fighters that he picked out that are, you know, really good hands that could potentially step into boxing. Why do you think so many boxers are going the opposite way? Of course, you've signed. We've got, you know, Claressa Shields. We've got Amanda Serrano signed recently with the PFL. Why do you think it is that we're getting people crossing over from boxing to MMA?
Especially with the women, I think it's the opportunities. 2-3 years ago, there was, you know, you got given a contract and it didn't even matter what was in it, you'd sign it because you had no other opportunity. Whereas now, women are making waves, and with organisations like the PFL, they're really backing female fighters. And I think this is, like I said, these opportunities are too good to walk away from.
Yeah, and you spent a bit of time with Molly McCann. I mean, she's just fought co-main event in London, which is a big spot for her. What are your thoughts on her career and you know, how she's kind of become a superstar in the UK, and what was your training like with her?
I think she's done amazing. So I've known Molly since I was about 16, 17, and she won a national title in boxing. So that's how I initially come across Molly, and she's worked hard, years and years. She's worked hard, and she kind of was there for me before MMA started getting that global recognition. And like I said, she's made herself a household name, and fair play to her, because she's a great fighter, and she's got a lovely personality.
And she loves a fight as well.
Yeah, she does.
That's something that's quite clear. Do you see that? You know, when you're talking to, when you're watching boxers, can you tell the ones that like a fight and the ones that are there for the sport? Like, it's the same with MMA. Like, there are certain fighters I look at and I'm like, they're really good, but I don't think they love the fighting part of it. Do you know what I mean? Like the bite down your mouth guard. Like, do you have that? Do you feel like that the fighting part comes natural to you, or is that something that you had to kind of find through your career? Yeah,
definitely. And I've had it hard. I've had no easy fights. You know, I've had a lot. My whole career, I felt like I've almost been there, like so close to winning it all. 2 Olympic Games, obviously my mega fight with Claressa, and then I finally got it with Franchin when I become undisputed. So I've definitely got that resilience and bounce back ability, because my whole career has been almost there.
Yeah.
I slam the fuck out of her. You understand me? I go right for her leg. I've been doing MMA for almost 2 years. She want to do an MMA fight, I would gladly kick her ass again.
And you know, talking of Claressa, I mean, that's an obvious rivalry, I suppose. Now you're both signed with the PFL. What were your thoughts on her turning to mixed martial arts, and you know, not having it all her way? Of course, she's you know, she had some rough moments in there where she's had to realise that there are more skills that she needs to learn. Can you learn from her mistakes, perhaps? And what are your thoughts on her as an MMA fighter compared to as a boxer?
I remember when she crossed over, and I remember thinking at the time, I don't blame her, because like I said, it was around about the time when I remember thinking there's no opportunities in boxing for women, and that's when she turned over. So I thought, oh, she's probably thinking the same thing. I think she showed how hard it can be. You know, I think you know, she's good at boxing for a reason, fast hands, but she showed that, you know, there's a lot more elements to it, and that only gets you so far in the smart cage. But to Rivalry, I'm willing, and I'm glad I've got the opportunity to push on and drag out a bit longer.
Yeah, for sure. You seem to appreciate one another, though. I noticed that in New York the other week, where, you know, of course, this trash talk back and forth, and she said she's going to pick you up and slam you and all that kind of stuff. But then when you're actually face to face, there's an obvious respect there between the two of you. Like, where does that start and finish? Like, do you think if you weren't sporting rivals, you'd be friends? Could you get on with her?
No, not at all.
Is that right?
No,
Okay.
we're not. We wouldn't be in the same friendship circle, put it
Right.
that way. I think that, look, the respect's there because we're rivals, and it's got us into this position where everyone needs a rival in boxing, in MMA, and it definitely helps. And she's appreciative of me. I know she is as well, although she says she's not, and I'm appreciative of her, because without her I wouldn't have had that mega fight. I wouldn't have had the most opportunities, and I'm under no illusion that the reason why the PFL are interested in me is a potential rematch with her in the smart cage.
And what do you need to do then to become the better mixed martial artist than her?
Learn how to defend a takedown first.
That's a good start. Have you got an idea of how you're going to start this process of preparing for your MMA debut?
Obviously, for me, boxing still takes priority. I've did a little bit of training, like I said, in the past, but I've never really took it seriously, whereas now it's changed. At the minute, I'm going to start, I've got a couple of people in mind for teams and things like that, and I'm just going to start going around, forming relationships, seeing where I'm comfortable, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, you know, we've got a crossover going the opposite way with Francis Ngannou fighting Tyson Fury. I mean, in what world, in what circumstance does Tyson Fury struggle with Ngannou, do you think?
I think it'll be early on. When he feels that he's got a bit of power there, but I think after probably around 3, I think Tyson will just start playing with him.
Do you think the gloves would make a difference? Do you think if they were wearing the smaller gloves, it'd lean towards Ngannou in any way?
I do, yeah, and I'm only speaking from when I've put them little 4 ounces on, and I thought, wow, these are dangerous.
My old boxing coach used to call them sleeping pills. That's what he used to call them all the time. It's something that always stands out to me when you've got someone that's really good with their hands in boxing gloves and you hand them an MMA glove. I had Deontay Wilder the other week, and he was standing next to the smart cage, and I just made sure we had some whatever triple XL gloves he wears. I just wanted to see his face when he tried them on, because when you know, I mean, you're a knockout puncher, 10 knockouts, 13 wins, like, you know you can put somebody to sleep with one punch. When you put a smaller glove on, though, there's something a little bit more exciting about the fact that it feels easier to do, right? Like that, is that going to be something that you're going to have to learn how to control when you get in there? Or are you just going to feel like, well, this next punch is going to put them out? Are you going to have to kind of measure that excitement a little bit, do you think?
I suppose it all depends on the opponent, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. How do you think you're going to get matched? Do you think they're going to give you someone that can grapple straight away, or? I
think it'll all be taken into consideration that, look, I haven't been doing BJJ for years. I haven't come from a kickboxing background, so it'll be one of them where I'll be matched sensibly.
Yeah. Have you got any boxers that you enjoy watching? Anybody that's inspired you that you think would also do well crossing over to mixed martial arts, past or present?
Well, funny enough, this is totally off the subject, but I didn't know Brock Lesnar won a heavyweight title.
Oh yes.
Wow, someone mentioned it and I was like, no, he was a wrestler.
Yeah.
And then when I actually looked and watched it, I thought, wow, how amazing is that?
Yeah.
So
I was actually there when he won the world title. He's a scary individual, huge, powerful wrestler. But you know, going back to a conversation we were having a moment ago, you could tell he didn't like fighting. Some people, even in combat sports, you just don't feel like they're enjoying it. And I mean, you know, athletic ability and skill, Brock Lesnar was able to win a world title. If you've got that and the bit where you think, yeah, I can enjoy this, I feel that puts you in in a much stronger position. Would you not agree?
Yeah, I do, because it's brutal. It's a brutal sport. I think boxing is there, but this is like the next level up.
Yeah, it's different watching someone get kicked in the face. It's, I mean, I love it, but it's something that I've been doing for a long time. Well, I am really excited to see you not only begin this journey, but to see how far you can take it. I mean, you know, you've proven yourself many times over in the boxing world, and you know, to turn your attention and that skill and focus to mixed martial arts is very exciting. Good luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm looking forward to being cage side for your PFL debut. Ladies and gentlemen, Savannah Marshall, soon to be MMA superstar.
Marshall.